Right, let's talk about hotels. Big deal announced yesterday. Marriott buying Sheraton for $12 billion. Let's get some more insight. Christopher Hewett is Associate Director at TRI Consulting. He's with us in the studio. Morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Why is Marriott doing this deal, do you think?
Well, Starwood announced earlier in February this year that, they're looking at different strategies. And as a result, there have been a number of suitors that have come to the table looking at acquiring Starwood. There's been numerous names that have been sort of linked to the deal up until as late as last week. We had Hewett looking at acquiring Starwood and a number of Chinese investors. I think Marriott's appeals to Starwood appeals to Marriott on a number of fronts. One of them is, Starwood is a leader in the luxury segment and in the lifestyle segment. Okay, so Marriott can see this as a great opportunity to leverage the strong brands that Starwood has with W and Aloft, and really help tap into those millennials. And there's also a number of other factors: the Starwood Preferred Guest program, the loyalty program, which some people say is one of the best programs in the industry. 21 million members of that program, it helps with creating economies of scale. At the moment, hotel companies around the world are fighting against the challenges from online travel agents like Expedia and Booking.com. And by having a greater number of hotel rooms in their portfolio, it gives them a greater advantage on negotiating more favourable commission structures with these big online travel agencies.
It's interesting. Arne Sorensen, the CEO of Marriott, said in this business at the moment, size matters, and they are now the biggest in the world by hotel rooms. How big a challenge, and to what extent is this a response to the rise of the likes of Airbnb and the sharing economy?
That is a factor. As I mentioned, you've got the online travel agencies that are eroding profit margins of hotels and taking guests away from their booking and reservation systems. And you see the rise of Airbnb when it comes to, short stay accommodation. Some say, and some would argue that, it's a completely different model and it doesn't have a threat to hotels. But, there will be some threat when it comes to periods of high demand in key cities, and Airbnb, what you see going on in San Francisco at the moment, is a prime example of that.
If you look at the Starwood brands, Sheraton, Meridian, St. Regis, Westin, 4 Points, Aloft, W, the Luxury Collection, Marriott brands, Marriott, JW Marriott, Ritz-Carlton, Bulgari, Courtyard, Renaissance, Protea Hotels, and the Autograph Collection. Does that have the world covered? Are there any geographic gaps here?
Well, in 2013, Marriott embarked on purchasing Protea hotels out of Africa, and now are the largest operator of hotels in Africa. What this deal does when it comes to Marriott's exposure, it gives them a greater exposure outside of the continental US. Starwood generates a significant portion of its revenues from outside of the United States, and Marriott can capitalize this with this deal. In terms of coverage, if you look at the United States, for example, where there is a huge coverage of these two companies, this merger will result in a roughly 12% of the total room supply in the US. So we're not looking at monopolies. There are various discussions at the moment online about the implications, and regulators looking at the competitive nature of this deal and how does it affect the the competitiveness for guests. But I don't think
let me jump in for
issue.
a second, because we're running short of time. How many brands is too many brands? Malcolm rattled off a seemingly endless list there. Does there come a point when some of these cost savings will be in streamlining the brands? You're going to have St. Regis up against Ritz-Carlton. In many ways, they're very similar brands. Each will need a brand manager, a marketing budget, and so on. Will there come a time when they think, you don't need St. Regis and Ritz-Carlton, we'll just have one. You don't need W and Edition, we'll just have one. Could that happen?
I think what you'll see is, I don't believe there will be a case where the brands will de-evolve and you'll get some brands that disappear. What you'll probably see is in markets where you have a high density of properties from these both companies, you'll probably see situations where you're going to get a merger of one brand taking over another brand. Whether it's using a Marriott brand to take over a Starwood brand or vice versa. At the moment, each one of these brands have got their individual characteristics and market segments and guest demands and guest needs, and at this stage I don't think we're going to see a devolution of these brands.
Chris, we're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Fascinating insights. Really appreciate you joining us this morning to shed some light on the $12 billion deal Marriott buying Starwood. Chris Hewett of TRI Consulting. Appreciate it.